Hello, RC enthusiasts. It's me again. You guys remember this airplane, don't you? We highlighted it about 2 years ago. As a matter of fact, this airplane's 2 years old. But you guys won't click the video to see that beached whale, and we'll get to it in a minute. But I want to go over this one real quick because I'm not going to talk about everything that's in the Edge because it's pretty redundant to what I did to the Yak. So anything that I overlook on the Edge, please refer back to the Yak video if you need any more information on the servos and horns and things of that nature. On one note, I will say that this Yak has been being pounded for 2 solid years and it has given me absolutely no trouble. About 2 weeks ago, the DA did start to run a little bit poorly. It never shut off on me. It started to run, it wouldn't rev up all the way. And it turns out I wore out the reeds. But I called DA up, got some new reeds, fixed that, runs like a top again. So 2 years strong, pounding it. It's got bruises all over it to show it, and no failures yet. So here is the 92-inch Edge 540 from 3D Hobby Shop. This airplane does not belong to me. It belongs to a friend of mine, and I am assembling it for him. And for the most part, a lot of similarities. Same little DA70. But notably, the exhaust system. He wanted to go with a canister and a little header and some smoke. So those are the items we'll be highlighting. And it's a beautiful little header. And I've actually already ran this airplane earlier today, and it does quiet it down quite a bit for those of you that are looking for something quiet. It really takes the pop out of the exhaust note. One of the main things I'm going to focus on here is if anybody has looked into these headers yet, they'll note that there's different links. And the links refer to the drop. And the drop is from the flange to the center line of the outlet pipe. So if you were to draw and take a measurement from this flange to the center line of this pipe, this is actually the 60 millimeter. And I think they make a 40 millimeter and a 90 millimeter to go along with it. But anybody that wants to build the Edge and wants a tuned exhaust system, the 60 millimeter fits in there super nice. Everything lined up really well. I was really pleased with the way it went out. It comes down through the back, and I used the hardware that came with the ARF. Had to trim it just a little bit on one side because of the angle of the motor, but it all went in there quite well. And fuel-proofed everything as far back as I could reach because I have a bad feeling this smoke system is going to make a mess, but we'll see. And just for reference, I'll even see if I can focus on the part numbers, and it won't do it. I'll type them at the bottom of the screen. But the exhaust system came from DA. I called them up and asked them if they had anything in stock because their website didn't show anything in stock, and they said, sure, we got the whole system, we'll send it right to you. And they did. That's about it for the bottom side of the plane. Let's get her flipped over and we'll talk about the top. Alright, up on its feet like it belongs. A plane should never be upside down unless it's on a build table. If it's outside upside down, something went wrong. Back to the exhaust for just a minute while it's on the top of my head. That is nothing more than a MTW canister, which to my knowledge is only supposed to quiet it down. I'm not sure what it was really intended for on the performance aspect of it. I do know that there's a difference between a canister and a tune pipe, and a tune pipe is centered around performance purposes. But I will say this, I fired it up for the first time today, an initial run with me only leaning the needles out so it would quit blowing raw fuel out the carburetor. It's not even tuned yet, and this thing is swinging a Falcon 2410, and it spun it up to a 6700. So I don't know if the canister helps performance or not, but it definitely didn't hurt it, because I mean, that's blistering a 2410. I can't remember what my Yak with just a set of mufflers on it spun a 2410 originally. I'll have to go back and look, and if I find it, I'll post the comparison down below. But anyways, moving on. Got my favorite little fuel filter on there. Those quick fire fuel filters are great. This one actually has the Blazing Star mount from Extreme Flight, but it wasn't quite long enough to get the thrust where it needed to be. But the ARF came with a wooden spacer that actually was too thick, so I peeled one of the plies off, and that made it just right. Smoke pump, power box. That's an impressive little unit, and it ought to be. First time I've ever installed one of those. Getting my buddy's Futaba radio to do what it was supposed to do and run up and down with the throttle, that was fun. I'm not a Futaba man, but he is. I like my JR stuff. And because he's running a Futaba, they don't really make a decent receiver, to my knowledge, capable of toting the big high-tech servos, so we got him one of the little SmartFly power boards, and that's the least expensive one in their lineup. I think that is the I think that's just the sport model. Came from Chief Aircraft. A lot of this stuff in here came from Chief Aircraft, which oddly enough their website shows them having things, and then they turn around and call you the next day and say they don't have them, so you end up waiting. I wish they would get a handle on that, because that's kind of obnoxious. Let's see, what am I overlooking? Got the 3 Turnigy batteries in the back. Got 2 for the servo, 1 for the ignition. Got our dual tanks, 24 ounces apiece. 1 for smoke, 1 for fuel. Clearly labeled pair of dots. Those came from Hobby King. Switches on the other side. 1 for the control flat power, 1 for the ignition. And I think I've covered it. Like I said, if there's any questions pertaining to anything I did not cover on this airplane, refer back to my video I did of the Yak, because other than that, it's identical. I'll try and do a sound comparison of my Yak with the mufflers on it, the JTEC mufflers, and this one with the canister system on it at the end of the video, so you get a real good idea of what you're looking into if you haven't decided on what kind of exhaust you want. I will say one thing: as nice as that exhaust system is, it is awfully pricey, but it is pretty. Feel free to question, comment, start a conversation. Until I can do something else entertaining, we'll see you guys later.